The NFL owners will meet this week in West Palm Beach, Florida, to discuss two potential rule changes to the NFL that may or may not impact how the Jets do business in 2025. The first rule change is a proposal from the Green Bay Packers that mainly affects the Eagles, but schematically could affect the Jets' plans as well, and that is banning the tush push. To me, I completely disagree with this rule. At this point, only one of the 32 teams in the NFL has, mastered quote unquote the play. I do understand it looks like a rugby play. It doesn't necessarily look like a true NFL play. Also, if we went back to when our grandfathers were watching this sport, it would look like an entirely different game. So, pulling one play out of the entire league because one team is really good at it doesn't seem right to me. So, this is more of an Eagles, anti Eagles rule proposal change, in my opinion. But from a Jets perspective, how I think it could affect them with the addition of Justin Fields, the beefing up of their offensive line, solidifying the right tackle position with Armand Membu, even taking a tight end in the second round. It seems like the Jets are going to be a very run-centric offense. I don't think that's very surprising at this stage in the season or the offseason where we're at on May 19th. I do think that there could be elements of tush push like things that come out of the Jets offense because Justin Fields is a very powerful runner. He can get away from you in open space, but I also feel like he can lower his shoulder and run through a defender from time to time as well. So to me, this was a change that might have a ripple effect on the Jets from a schematic standpoint. One that I, again, disagree with. I don't think the tush push should be banned in the NFL. We haven't seen, 16, 17, 20 teams taking advantage of this rule. And right now, I think it's more we can't stop it, so we want to ban it type of proposal. And I don't think the Packers were the only team that proposed this. They were just the main proposal team at the time back in March when this was first come about. They obviously pushed the ruling to this week. There's some speculation. I know Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated believes that the rule will get passed and they will change the tush push in some degree at the NFL level. Again, I disagree with it. I don't think it's a change that's necessary to be made for the NFL, and I don't think it takes away from the game enough. I don't think the Eagles spam that play. You obviously know when you tackle Saquon Barkley 1 yard short of the line to gain, you know what's coming, sure. But I think the numbers overall are a lot less than people think when they think about the tush push. They just see the Eagles running it 4 or 5 times per drive, where it might be 4 or 5 times per game. And I understand that equates to about, 90 or so times you're running it throughout the season at a 4 to 5 chance per game rate. So maybe, 90 is a lot higher for some people. To me, I don't think it's worth making a change about. Maybe in the future years, if this becomes a thing for every offense and all teams are running the tush push on 3rd and 4th and 1, sure. But we've seen plenty of teams fail at this because they're not built like the Philadelphia Eagles. So to me, I just let the Eagles do what they are currently doing, running the tush push with Jalen Hurts and company. The second ruling, and this one I believe has more of an immediate impact on the Jets. Again, maybe not for 2025, maybe for 2026 and beyond, but the Lions' proposal for a playoff seeding change. So, how this is going to work, and I'll put it up on the screen here. You see Ari Mirov's tweet at My Sports Update. So, teams are going to vote on the proposal to change the NFL seeding format where teams would be seeded strictly by their regular season record rather than automatically awarded the top 4 seeds to division winners. So more details on this. If teams have the same record, so say the Jets finish with the same record as the Bengals, but the Bengals win the AFC North and the Jets finish second in the AFC East, the Bengals would get the first tiebreaker. So division winner would still serve as a tiebreaker. It would not go to head-to-head record. After the first round of playoffs, so the wild card round, teams would be reseeded, so the number 1 seed always plays the lowest remaining seed. And this is because the NFL wants to increase late season competitiveness and excitement and reduce teams resting starters in weeks 17 and 18. So, from my perspective on this proposal, I can see it. I disagree with it all in its totality, like overall perspective on it. I would disagree with it. And I would certainly kick back on the reseeding of the playoff teams after the first round. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know exactly how you're going to get that to be clear and concise to everybody, and it's not a situation where I just want every team to be happy with the rules that are made. But in this situation, I feel like you're catering to teams like the Lions last year who lost their division to the Minnesota Vikings and won 14 games. So, yes, there needs to be a reward for winning that many games, but I think that's making the playoffs. And if I'm not mistaken, like you're still there. You're at the dance, you have a shot. You're one of the last 7 teams in your conference to be playing football in late January. So to me, I think the way that they had the playoff schedule or bracketing before they added the 7th team was almost elite in how they ran it. So then they added the 7th team, they changed things around. Only one team in each conference gets the bye. I was not a big fan of it, and I've just now personally come to terms with, okay, I understand why they did this. This would make more sense. The 7th seed has really been a struggling team. You know, the last couple of seasons, it feels like they're about a 500 ball club, and they're getting into the playoffs as the 7th seed. So they're usually a one and done team anyway at this point. Things can change, obviously, and your 7th seed could be, a lot stronger of a team moving forward. But I think there needs to be continuity with this 7-team playoff bracket right now, and we need to actually see it play out because we only had one instance last year where the Lions were super, I guess, advanced in the win column compared to some of the other playoff teams. And I don't necessarily think that the Lions being the one team in this example should change the entire format. I don't see it at all. To me, I can't get down with these rule changes. Maybe it's just a product of me turning 30 a couple months ago and getting, set in my ways with the sport that I love, and perhaps that the change might actually be a benefit to the league. But how I see it now, I don't think any of this is going to be a net positive for the NFL. And from a Jets perspective, I mean, I just kind of laid out the scenario. If you have the same record as a team who wins their division, they're going to get the tiebreaker. That's fine. But I would rather it be the Bengals get locked in 1 through 4 seed, and then the Jets are competing for, the 5th seed as the highest they can be as a non-division winner. So for me, I just like the way that it is. Maybe the neither rule will get changed. So again, it might not affect the Jets in 2025, but I do think the playoff rule specifically will come into play for the Jets somewhere down the line. Maybe it's 2026 or 2027. And I think the important thing also to note is this was a Lions proposal, like I mentioned. So AG was, front and center when the team that he currently was, or that he formerly was employed with, was proposing this rule. He was, part of that team that is proposing the rule. So there's an element of maybe he feels the way the Lions do and he's on board with that. And now he would bring that with the Jets. And now you have 2 teams in the Lions and the Jets that both feel the same way. And that's how you start getting more votes to go in your way if you do want this rule to change. So 2 rule changes, the tush push ban and the playoff seeding change. Both I would personally disagree with. I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL changes one, if not both of these rules. I would assume the playoff seeding one is more for viewership and money at the end of the season. You get into the week of Christmas and the week after Christmas as the final 2 games of the season. You're going to want as many eyes on television as you can. And when Josh Allen isn't playing for the Buffalo Bills in week 18 against the New York Jets because they already had the division clinched 4 weeks ago and the Jets are somewhat of a struggling team, it's not going to bring eyeballs to the TV, and it's not going to bring in the viewership that the NFL wants. So I would say that the second one, also has a financial component about it. But at this point, what component does the NFL care about the most? The financials. So the tush push to me, they can try to say player safety. I don't think the teams that are proposing this, like the Packers, are saying from a player safety perspective that they want to change this. Maybe the NFL is, but I don't think that's the vibe I'm getting from the teams who are proposing the rule. They just don't think it's very football like, so to speak. So, two rule changes real quick. A little bit more housekeeping on a Monday. Three Jets players have changed their jersey numbers. That would be Will McDonald, who went from 99 to 9. So he went back to his former college number when he was at Iowa State. Number 9 is probably going to look clean off the edge. I did like 99 for him. I loved the whole Gastineau, McDonald. We play the same position. We're both, really athletic edge rushers who can get after the quarterback and make a big splash play when the team really needs it. Perhaps there's an element of Mark Gastineau. They're going to honor Mark Gastineau with his 99 and perhaps put him in the Ring of Honor, and maybe no one will ever wear 99 again. I'm not sure how that's all going to go down, but Will McDonald does change his number. Malachi Corley, for the second time in his very short NFL career, has changed his number. He's going back. He was 17 to begin his career. Then Devontae Adams was traded to the Jets, so he had to switch to 14. 14 is no longer his number. He has switched to number 6. So that was Thomas Morstead's old number. So you see very quickly, Zerline, Morstead, their numbers are being taken by younger players on the team. And then a couple weeks ago, we found out Xavier Gibson changed his number from 82 to 3. 82 is now being worn by rookie wide receiver Arian Smith from Georgia, the 4th round pick. So three players, McDonald, Corley, Gibson. Gibson and Corley specifically are roster bubble players at this point in the offseason. Let's just call it what it is. I'm a huge Malachi Corley advocate, but his roster spot is certainly not locked on this team. I don't think the changing of his jersey number is going to increase or decrease his chances of making the team. I do think it is, however, notable that his number has changed. Malachi Corley posted it on his Instagram, a picture of his locker. I did think it was cool that they put him between Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields. And with all the, talk about Malachi Corley last year with his, needing to step up in a maturity aspect to play at the NFL level, and he almost felt, I don't want to say entitled, but there was a sense of entitlement maybe within the building in Malachi Corley. I think being between Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields specifically is going to do wonders for him from a mental perspective, just to get his mind in a spot where he can, hunker down, become a professional football player, really thrive in this league and be the best version of himself that he can be. So two locker mates are perfect for Corley in Wilson and Fields. And then the last little bit of housekeeping is a former Jets executive has found a new home. Joe Douglas is signing with the Philadelphia Eagles to go back to his former place of employment, where he spent 4 seasons, 2016 to 2019, in their scouting department before coming to the Jets to be their general manager. Rich Cimini reported it as a senior scouting role. So we're not exactly the full title and full official title of Joe Douglas right now, but that makes 3 former Jets front office or coaching staff members who went back to the exact same spot they were when they left to come to the Jets. Joe Douglas back in Philly, Robert Saleh back as the DC in San Francisco, and Jeff Ulbrich back as the DC in Atlanta. So not necessarily what you know, it's who you know in this NFL business. We all know that. It's just part of it. So not saying they're not deserving of roles in the NFL. I certainly think Joe Douglas does a good job from a talent evaluation standpoint. I just think he had shortcomings as a GM. Same with Saleh and Ulbrich in their respective roles. Perhaps, the demotion to DC will help both of them, and they will get back up into the ranks where Robert Saleh is being asked to be a head coach again. I know he had interviews this cycle, especially with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think he took one with the Raiders as well. So these guys are going to stay in NFL circles as long as they have buddies on these teams. And as they continue to grow, there's just going to get more opportunities. So just a little bit of Monday housekeeping, some rule changes. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button on your way out, and we'll talk to you soon. Let's go Jets.